looking at the fourth and final question in the assessment, which is about the institution's policies or strategies about the use of different technologies for online learning and delivery. I found that there were a couple of resources for our university, which I'll point out here. The first was around e-learning policies. So there's a number of things on learning and teaching, but there's specifically one on quality, flexible teaching and learning policy. And that policy goes through how the university plans to support the delivery of flexible learning, including that there is a requirement that a component of that be used through a centralised learning management system. So if people are going to implement flexible learning approaches, that they do adhere to the procedures for quality flexible learning, teaching and learning, which is A code, which is benchmarks that have been developed by universities and the Australian Council of Open Distance and E-Learning. So this policy framework is definitely set in a kind of way that encourages people to use the university policies around this. It does, of course, encourage emerging flexible technologies to be used, which is noted here, but it does so by tempering that against using that within the context of these benchmarks that have been set. So it talks about aligning with teaching and learning policies, that it's adequately resourced, coordinated with other student support services, and it's also something that they're suggesting there need to be appropriate systems and procedures to support this flexible learning. So this is where they talk about informing themselves of expectations for their use of the learning management system. So having to do that and making sure that that's done properly, which makes sense in terms of monitoring how online learning teaching activities are developed. I also found that there was another page which had strategies for success in online teaching, which I thought was more proactive, talking about different units that you could use, useful links for learning, how to do some e-moderation competencies which you can develop, which means understanding online processing, etc. And I refer to McIntyre 2014, where he talks about educators primarily need to understand why it is important to embrace new technologies, and when considering their use, to place considerations of pedagogy and curriculum before those of technology to develop truly effective online learning initiatives. So McIntyre 2008 and Schnackenberg, Luke, Neeson and Servant 2001 talk about that, and I think that's what the university is trying to do here, is to ensure that people are aware of why we're doing this. They refer to a publication, Salmond 2002, E-Activities, the Key to Active Online Learning. And this again also talks about the need to link things back to a pedagogy or to curriculum in order to deliver effectively using online learning. So I think for these reasons, the university has really tried to embrace online learning and to provide both a flexible environment to do so, but also some key policies about how this can be done to maintain quality. There's also information specifically on e-portfolios and other areas of the LMS for access and support to the LMS. So I think these are quite detailed, these e-learning policies.